Breaking news coming out of the NBA. This one is a surprise and a shock. Myles Turner agreeing to a 4-year, $107 million deal to join the Milwaukee Bucks, that according to ESPN. That ends the run of what was a long career for Turner. All 10 of his NBA seasons were played with the Pacers, played the 6 most games in Pacers history with them, and just had a deep run all the way to the NBA Finals in Indiana. But now he heads to different pastures in Milwaukee as things are getting crazy out here in free agency period of the NBA. Nicole Moss here with us. And Ashley, before we even dive fully into this Myles Turner news, now the reports are that the Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard, who's of course rehabbing that Achilles injury that he tore just this past season. A lot of money owed to him. They'll have to figure out that money situation. So first, which way do you want to take this? Are you more shocked with the Myles Turner news or the Dame time? I
think all of it, and I want to get this right because we're breaking this down as it's happening. And they are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract in order to acquire Myles Turner. So obviously Lillard's last 2 seasons with Milwaukee, it comes to the end as he rehabilitates that torn Achilles tendon. But this is actually really crazy because we anticipated maybe the movement coming from Giannis because the Bucks were not going to make any moves and didn't have the capital to make moves. Myles Turner kind of came out of left field because I was under the impression, most of us were under the impression, he was absolutely going to re-sign with the Indiana Pacers, especially after losing Tyrese Halliburton. It is almost just dire to have a player of Myles Turner's caliber. When you talk about what he did, he's coming off of a stellar season, averaging almost 16 points on 48, 40, and 77 splits, 6.5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1.5 assists in about 30 minutes of play. And not only that, the biggest thing is the Pacers' opponents shot 57.7% at the basket with Myles Turner defending this season. So a phenomenal defender can also give you that offensive punch. And to lose a player like that and also be without Tyrese Halliburton, you kind of wonder who they're going to go after at that position. There's only a few guys that are remaining. You have DeAndre Ayton, who the Lakers desperately need. We talked about Al Horford earlier today, your Gator boy, on Morning Buzz. It's starting to get very thin at an already thin position of the center. And if you're the Lakers, now you're scrambling because Myles Turner completely threw this entire situation in disarray, because you would have to think the Indiana Pacers are now looking at DeAndre. It is going to be a battle, I feel like, for him between the Pacers and the Lakers, unless, which I don't think the Pacers are doing, unless they think this is going to be a wash season because they won't have Tyrese Halliburton. Because I will say, the interesting piece of information was this. When the report came out that Myles Turner was signing with the Bucks, the follow-up tweet from Shams was basically that he made it clear he wanted to return to Indiana. So something got lost in translation here.
Yeah, I wonder then what the motivation is for Turner to leave Indiana, because he's been vocal about how year after year his name being there on the trade block and the rumor mill and trade deadline and all those things never being dealt, how that dealt and affected his mental health. Now he gets through where it felt like, okay, he's going to be a piece that the Pacers are going to build with to move forward. What is the green pasture that you could say about going to Milwaukee?
It's interesting, right? I mean, you get to play with Giannis, who's a phenomenal player, top 3 in MVP contention, it seems like every single season, but Myles Turner was the longest tenured Pacer, and he made it very clear he wanted to remain in Indiana. His reps have been trying to get a deal done since the Game 7 ending, and it is extremely interesting. Maybe Indiana had an issue with the possible tax, which grew after Tyrese Halliburton's injury, and maybe that was something that they were apprehensive about. But again, I just feel like you kind of... It's a double-edged sword. In Indiana's defense, maybe for them, the tax was not worth it if you don't have Tyrese Halliburton. And to put all of your stock, or put a lot of stock, I should say, in a player that is phenomenal, but will he make the sole difference if Tyrese Halliburton is not on the floor? Because it is expected, unless he has like a freak rehabilitation, he will miss the entire NBA season just due to the timing of when he sustained the injury. So the Pacers are now between a rock and a hard place of having to determine whether or not it is worth keeping Myles Turner without Tyrese Halliburton on the floor. But I've also been on the side of, you want your star player to return to a team that looks very familiar to the team he left. This throws a complete wrench in what the Pacers were doing in the Eastern Conference. Again, still a very deep team. Maybe they weren't going to be a contender next season, but absolutely with how open the Eastern Conference is, still a playoff team. But you take those talents to Milwaukee, you give Giannis the help he desperately needs. Now Damian Lillard's no longer in the picture. You still have Kyle Kuzma, but they brought all those guys back. Things are looking a lot brighter in Milwaukee, and if you're Giannis, you have to be a lot more pleased than you were 24 hours ago.
Yeah, just the span of how things can change that quickly. Now you look at that Bucks roster and you figure, okay, well, now they have their center, Myles Turner, after Brook Lopez leaves, and you need to figure out, okay, what you're going to do at the guard spot. They've made some moves already in the early part of free agency that made it seem like, okay, what will they do? Bobby Portis sticking around, Kevin Porter as well, Gary Trent coming back to Milwaukee, and now you look at this team, Ashley.
Yeah.
Do you like them to do what in the East? What kind of grade right now as we sit here Tuesday morning? Or is it Wednesday? I don't even know. It's Tuesday. How do you feel? That's what free agency does to you.
Prior to this happening, I gave the Milwaukee Bucks a D because they brought guys back, but they didn't really move the needle in any which direction. They just very much stayed the same, which was not good because the same wasn't good. Now, for me, they've jumped to a B. Myles Turner is a franchise caliber center, and you pair him with Giannis. This is going to be fun to watch. Now, obviously, I'm really sad about Dame. We were sitting here when the news broke, and we were definitely taken aback. We knew that obviously the rehabilitation process for Dame was going to be a lengthy one. He's of a particular age, and that does sometimes play a factor in how long it takes you to rehab, but we never really got to see this duo work completely for an entire season. It was one guy or the other not being on the floor, and we got such a small sample size. And maybe, you know, for the Milwaukee Bucks, getting a franchise caliber center was a lot more important than trying to work things out with Damian Lillard or waiting for him to get back on the court. This is going to be extremely interesting. I will say, though, for me, this is a middle-of-the-road playoff team. This is not a team that's going to win anything. This is not a team that's going to even be a top dog in the Eastern Conference. Yes, the East is wide open, but there are still teams that are in much better positions to win the whole thing, or at least come out of the East, and that's the Knicks, the Cavs. Your Orlando Magic look tough. I think we have to watch out for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think that they're going to be a championship caliber team, but just talking about teams that I put ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks when you talk about the playoff standings, there's a few before I get to Milwaukee.
So Dame Lillard is 34. He'll turn 35 in 2 weeks. Now he hits the market with a torn Achilles, likely will not play at all next year. What's the market going to look like for him? Who would pick him up, and why would you pick him up? Because he's not even going to play. It's in your locker room.
It's going to be extremely difficult for him to find a home this upcoming season, right? I could say maybe a team like the Dallas Mavericks, but that doesn't even make sense, right? They do need a veteran point guard because Kyrie Irving's actually out with an injury. So this is going to be tricky for Dame and his team because you're going to basically be putting stock in a memory of a version of Damian Lillard, the Damian Lillard before the injury, and that's going to be extremely difficult to sell to a team that's trying to win now, or it is in a position to at least be a high playoff team or a playoff team in general. It's going to be extremely tricky for Dame and his team, to your point, because he is going to miss most of the regular season next season.
Yeah, and then you look at the money, the way that plays out, he likely will not get anywhere near that type of contract wherever he signs moving forward. Like, of course, this is a business, but the emotional aspect of it is just wild when you think of, hey, he's rehabbing, trying to get back right, and now gets waived. There's no way this is the end for his career, though, right? He's going to find somewhere.
I don't know. Damian Lillard is too talented of a point guard. He's too talented of a player in general for this to be the end. But it definitely leaves a bitter taste in your mouth if you're Dame, right? Because we remember the whole saga. obviously wanted out of the Portland Trail Blazers after giving his entire career to that organization. His team makes it very clear he has a destination in mind. That destination is Miami. And the Portland Trail Blazers, in a just complete difference of how the league has always been handled, go against their superstar and trade him to the Milwaukee Bucks, which is a huge acclamation for him. And it doesn't go smoothly. He mentioned being homesick. He mentioned it just not being a smooth transition, that it's not where he wanted to go. Made the best of it. You're playing with Giannis. It hasn't really matured into something that a lot of people on paper thought it was going to be, for a multitude of different reasons. They go through several. They went through their coaching change with Adrian Griffin and Doc Rivers, and you bring in Kyle. There's just been a lot of moving pieces. And if you're Dame, for all intents and purposes, you were going to come back to Milwaukee, and you planned on being in that lineup and being part of that team once your rehab was complete. And for this to kind of come out of left field, you're kind of taken aback because this is not what you had in mind. And again, I understand the business aspect of it. Myles Turner is a franchise caliber center coming off of the NBA Finals. But if you're Dame, this stings a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the middle of your rehab.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, you feel for him, and I'll be intrigued to see if and when we do hear from Dame what he has to say. When you look back at the Bucks now, like, you lose a 1-2 punch
for sure
that you had with a guard and a forward like Giannis. Mm-hmm. It's not the same putting in Myles Turner. Mm-hmm. I feel like they still need some sort of guard to facilitate things, to really be in that upper echelon of the East, right?
They absolutely do, and the market's extremely thin, so that's where things are going to get tricky for the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, we have to not ignore the importance of chemistry and what that acclimation period looks like. It took Dame and Giannis a while, and I don't even think they reached 100% in their own chemistry and their own continuity. And now essentially you're starting that over again, this time with Myles Turner and Giannis and Kyle Kuzma and all the other pieces on the Milwaukee Bucks. But you're absolutely right. This team is not done. The question is who do you go after? Because there's not much on the market when we talk about the point guard position.
Yeah, perfect segue to us bring up and show the rest of the free agents that are out there right now. When, of course, Myles Turner gone, Al Horford not needed if you're the Bucks. So you're looking at these guards and Josh Giddey, maybe. Malik Beasley has his own issues that he's dealing with right now, so I'm sure he's not going to be touched by anyone. Cam Thomas, is that what you're doing? Your boy Quentin Grimes?
I want Quentin Grimes back on the Knicks, but I don't know. The market is extremely thin. It's not just about getting the right position. It's not about just getting the position. It's about getting the right fit for the Milwaukee Bucks and who can come in and be an immediate impact for Giannis and what the Bucks currently look like. And that's the trickiest part, because despite Damian Lillard's age and despite the fact that this injury is just completely changes sometimes the way that a point guard or guard, a player in general, plays, he's still one of the best to ever do it. And you are not going to easily replace his productivity and his skill. And that's where things get a little sticky for the Milwaukee Bucks. But Myles Turner, I mean, they've done this before. Remember with Drew Holiday, how Drew Holiday came out of left field and it basically saved Giannis from going elsewhere. And they once again have come in the 11th hour and said, Giannis, whatever I need to do to keep you happy, baby, I'm going to keep you. I need a man like that. That's what I need. Whatever I need to do to keep you happy, I'm going to keep you happy. And that's exactly what the Bucks do for Giannis.
It's not that kind of segment we're doing.
I'm just saying. Those are relationship goals, if you ask me.
You can wish for that, and I hope that for you, because I'm a nice,
You're not like that
guy.
With your wife?
No, I am. That's what I'm saying. I hope it for you.
Okay,
I hope you get to experience it.
I need a Milwaukee Buck in my life.
I need you to get that too. You hear what she's saying right there. Take another look at this free agent list. For you, who is the best player available? Kuminga, Giddey, or do you like someone else when you talk about just forget fit for whatever team needs someone? Who's the best?
I like a few guys on this list. I think Al Horford is a name that I like a lot for a multitude of different reasons. I think that he's effective. I think that he has a high basketball IQ. He has the experience. Kuminga, I'm 50-50 on. I think also we've never really seen the full Kuminga experience, especially when you talk about that disaster in Golden State. I like Cam Thomas a lot. Gary Payton's a nice acquisition. You can get him for your bench. There are a few guys on here. It's all about the fit. But DeAndre Ayton is going to be that name that I'm watching very, very closely, because now things have gotten a lot more interesting when it comes to his market and who would be going after him. If you are the Los Angeles Lakers, you are waiting until 12:01 and it is officially Wednesday and he clears waivers, and you are grabbing him as quick as possible. If you don't, we're having a different conversation about the Lakers.
Yeah, there's never a downtime in the NBA offseason. That's what makes things so much fun, because, man, 24 hours here into free agency and things are this crazy already. Buckle up, y'all, for the summer. It's going to be very fun. Thank you, Ashley Nicole Moss, and kicking it as always as we show you just one last little reminder of what the numbers look like for Myles Turner playing for the Pacers. 6th all-time in games, 10 seasons there, went through a lot, just made it to the finals, but now instead of kicking it in Indy, he's headed over to Milwaukee, teaming up with Giannis Antetokounmpo and a Bucks team that no longer will have Damian Lillard on that roster as they stretch and waive his contract. Keep it locked here on HQ, because, of course, we will have you covered every step of the way with all things NBA free agency and all the other sports. Brad Botkin will be joining the show in a little bit. We have you on HQ.